Okay, very happy to be joined today by a legend of the UK scene, a veteran of the UFC, Bellator, KSW, Ultimate Challenge, BAMMA, you name a place he's probably fought there. And next up, Josh Barnett, Bloodsport, GCW in collaboration with Progress Wrestling next weekend, Sunday, September 28th at the Electric Ballroom in London, right next to Camden Town Station. Oli Thompson. Oli, how you doing, man?
Yeah, very well, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Obviously, first and foremost, Bloodsport, a few days away now. How did this opportunity come about for you? Because obviously you're like the perfect candidate for it with all of your experience. But how did it come about? Did you put feelers out? Did Josh reach out to you? How did that come about? And I guess how excited are you to be a part of it?
Well, I'll give you sort of the shorter version. There's always a longer version, but I've dipped my toes into some professional wrestling in the last couple of years locally. It's kind of like most lads my age. It's kind of like a little bucket list dream thing from when you were a child. You know, playing around and picking each other up and your brothers and your friends. But I never really thought about it too much. There's not too much. It's not something you have access to everywhere you go, is it? So you don't really see it.
Yeah,
You see a lot of MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu now, pro wrestling kind of tucked away, but there's a good bunch of guys not too far, like an hour from me, that I sort of knew of for a while, but don't know them personally. They started asking me to come over and do a little feature, have a match, and I sort of got into it. And it's an incredible experience. It's so much fun. It's a bit different to a fight. It's more of it's a performance slash fight, and all the dramas. So it's cool. So I did that. I've had a few matches and really enjoy it. And I just became recently, really not too long ago, become aware of Josh's setup and what he does. And I've been sort of having a look to understand sort of the styling of it and how it plays out, because it's very much in its own lane, isn't it, in terms of what he's doing. And it's pretty new. It's pretty like I'm talking about like really recently looking at that a bit more. And I've met Josh a couple of times at a couple of fights. No, we weren't like great friends or anything like that, but just nice guy. And real recognize real is like really like respect each other. And I just managed to someone mentioned I got a friend who mentioned it, actually, my friend Alan Murphy. I don't know if you know Alan Murphy, but he's he mentioned about he knows a lot of people as well. And me and Alan always sort of give each other shit and send each other jokes or whatever here and there. But it's a good guy, good dude. And he mentioned about Josh's Bloodsport, and I think he might have even he may have messaged Josh for me, or maybe sent me Josh's number. And I messaged Josh. This is when he first announced London. I don't know, 6 months ago or something like that.
I think
Four,
it was back in February when it got announced. Yeah.
yeah, something like this. So I messaged Josh, and he was just messaged back saying, "Yeah, let's get you on." And then we didn't talk for like 3 or 4 months. That was it. I was like, "All right, cool." And then just recently, he messaged me and just said, "You still down?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still down." And we've maybe shared in total maybe 4 messages. That's
Okay, so
it.
I mean, you're yeah. That's perfect. How you said you haven't done too much pro wrestling. How many matches roughly?
Uh, Free.
That's it.
I had dark matches. You know what I mean? I've played out matches, but as far as like to the crowd, Bloodsport's a bit different as well. Like
Yeah.
you can take an MMA fighter or good grappler, and he wouldn't have to. He can adapt a little bit and fight a Bloodsport style match pretty well.
Mm.
The
I mean,
so go on, mate.
yeah. We've seen that on the Bloodsport shows in the US and Japan that Josh has done.
Yeah, the sort of like all out pro wrestling, full rules pro wrestling some different technicalities to it. You couldn't just put any MMA fighter or strong dude
Yeah.
into it, and not everyone could do it. It's quite specific on how you can do it. You see, and different sorts of people, different characters you see in it. Pro wrestling, you see such a wide range of characters from what you can represent and how you put yourself out there. And when in pro wrestling, when a sort of like a established athlete from another sport goes over there, they look good, because a lot of the guys have just love their pro wrestling and do their pro wrestling. So, so you can make a real big splash in pro wrestling just by being physically a little bit more than the average. Whilst Bloodsport rules, it looks rough. It looks rough. We're gonna see how rough, but I'm no stranger to it.
Of course. We've got a few names announced for the show now. Obviously, maybe you know your match already, maybe you don't. But is there someone that jumps out to you as someone you'd like to step into the ring under Bloodsport rules with, or call your shot? Who do you want?
Yeah, I've been looking at the matchups, not matchups. I've been looking at the names for potential matchups. Some of them I've just learned about. Some of the guys that have been like got some fighting background in different styles and have been pro wrestling as well. And I sort of, the more I've looked up, the more it's like on social media, the more you click into it, the more it suggests to you. I'm sort of, oh yeah, I see him.
Yeah.
Dudes, some rough guys, some rough and tumble guys, some guys that have got some sort of fight, some boxing like background. I just saw Anthony Ogogo, I believe, was just put out there. Obviously, I know he's got some experience of AEW. Is that correct? And he has some
Yeah,
pro
yeah.
wrestling experience. I'm not a big AEW follower, so I don't know loads about that. But I have seen him, and he's got good caliber as far as in his career as well. Obviously, I'm assuming Josh is involved, and he's obviously as legit as you want someone to be, for real. I'm not really calling out names, and to be honest with you, I know who I'm fighting anyway. But but I don't want to pretend I'm not. I don't know. But as far as like who I would like to fight in general, just for the debate, 'cause I'm not going to obviously make announcements to show them can make them themselves, as is standard. But I would certainly like to fight someone that can go some way to matching my legitimacy.
Course. And like you say, that's most guys on this Bloodsport card, right? Everyone who's a part of this show has got some form of experience. Obviously, we do want to talk about some MMA with you because you are still very active in MMA. The last time we saw you was at 971 in June.
Yeah, I got
Interesting
that.
event. Yeah. Um, that one, like we say, that one thing away. How soon can we expect you back in the cage?
Well, I have announced my next fight on the social media, but I've been quite gentle because it's not for a while yet. And obviously, I've got the Bloodsport, and I've got a big wrestling match in October as well in my hometown. So I'm just promoting them at the moment. Promote one at a time. But I have announced the fight for HFC Human Fighting Championships in Tunisia, December the 20th.
December. Tunisia.
Yes.
Tunisia, that's an interesting one. Obviously somewhere new for you, I assume.
Yeah, it's one of the places I haven't been before. I kind of come close to having a few family holidays there a few times, but never did. I travel a lot to the UAE for commentary work and fought there a few times. I've got lots of friends out there, so it's kind of not too far out in terms of the region. And I'm looking forward to it. So I generally most years I get a nice sort of what I call like a Christmas fight. So it kind of keeps me in shape over Christmas, provides me with a little bit of money, and yeah, I'm always appreciative of getting the opportunities.
At the start of the year, though, you were a part of this massive pool of fighters eligible for the GFL draft. How did that process look for you going into that? Obviously, then you weren't drafted, but then what are your thoughts on what's gone on since, obviously cancelled events, fighters that were drafted have now left and gone elsewhere. Doesn't
Uh,
look good for them going. It doesn't look good for them going forward. What are your thoughts on everything surrounding GFL from your experience?
but I think I wanted to forget about it, but it's all right. Yeah, the guy Darren Owen was the boss, right? Darren Owen, I think it was, and he got in contact for a video call and talked to me for maybe an hour, selling me this idea that I wasn't really sure about. And he actually, funny enough, because he actually had a good reference. Is a good friend of mine, a friend of his, where I live on the south of the coast of the UK, knows Darren personally, just by chance. And he gave him a glowing reference as well, to be fair. So I was like, okay. And I listened to what he had to say. And he said a lot of really good things in terms of numbers of plans, but he also left a lot of stuff out. And it was only when it came to things advancing a bit, and then the draft. Like, he didn't even mention it. When we talked, he didn't even mention the draft. There was no mention of the draft, because otherwise, why would you put your name into it? It's just a marketing tool. Most of them guys that names were in there were just a marketing tool. But they weren't even in the teams. The teams were already made up pretty much, from what I'm led to believe. And if you're one of them, if you're one of them guys that's on one of them teams, you don't mind too much, because you're still in. I wasn't one of them guys. Regardless of whether you feel like I deserve to be or not, is really irrelevant, because that's the deal I'm being sold, right? So, and I was like, oh, you might be selected, you might not. I was like, well, if I knew I might not be selected, I would. I'm making good money doing what I'm doing now. I don't need to put my name into this mix. And I was originally contacted by the captain of the UK team. He said he's chosen me on his team. I don't want to drop names in that, because it was someone that I was quite cool with. I haven't heard from him since. I haven't heard from him since that conversation. Literally, that conversation of, there's a new thing. Can I have your email? This guy wants to email you about it. I'm the captain of the English team. I took that. I gave him my email, and from then on, I was speaking to Darren. And then I never heard from the guy again, and I never heard from him after I was dropped, if you like. Never heard from him after that either, and I haven't heard from him since then. I don't need to. It ain't no drama, but I haven't. So the whole thing was just a bunch of bullshit from the top to bottom. So, but I'm not happy about it, because a lot of my pals were hinging on, or quite in the belief that they were going to change their lives a little bit and make some good money, and prepared for it. And for that, I'm never happy. I'm one of the boys, you know.
Was there? I mean, obviously, you said you were making good money prior to that. Was there any financial compensation for being eligible for the draft?
No. I don't think anyone got any money off of GFL. I would be very surprised. Maybe the team captains, for putting the time in and picking who they wanted and things like this, maybe they got a little something. I don't think any fighters got a pound out of GFL. I don't really know. Like, was it real? Was it ever going to be something? What was the plan? I don't know. What do you think the plan was?
I mean, I think they were living in fantasy land.
But do you think they believed in it?
I'm sure they had a belief. I'm sure their plan wasn't to scam the fighters, essentially, but I'm sure they had a plan. But it was just, they're living in cuckoo land a bit. I don't think it was ever something that was realistic, and I think a lot of fans, a lot of media, kind of had that impression as well.
But do you know when the whole world thinks something's a scam, apart from the people doing it? They're very rarely wrong when everyone thinks it. So how did the people behind it not see that as well? It's like, this isn't going how we wanted to. It just seems there's a lot. I don't know about Darren. Darren was quiet. I don't want to speak about him personally, but he let a lot of people down, and I don't believe he's a stupid man. So if you're not a stupid man, then why are you acting so stupid?
Yeah, I mean, Darren had good experience coming into, like you said, you had a good reference for him. He obviously worked in Canada. He was with World Series of Fighting for a bit as well. He had good experience coming into this, so you would think, I guess, someone like that would know better.
Yeah, I mean, his ideas were good. They were good for the fighters. He had a lot of things that helped the fighters in terms of revenue and the numbers. And if they were genuinely what he wanted, and the reasons were genuine, then great. But what it's lacked, if you try, sometimes if you aim high in life and you fail, this is normal stuff. But the lack of transparency and an apology since has been quite deafening, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's still just in limbo. They haven't come out and said, right, this isn't happening. They cancelled the first show, and then it's just been silence.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone was going to fight there now, I'd want my purse money before I train.
Yeah,
And that ain't
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
I mean, they've opened it up for fighters who were drafted to then leave. A lot of the guys who were drafted have now since fought for other places.
I mean, I was kind of up at twice over because last year I was caught up. No, this year maybe I was caught up in the Qatar. I don't know if you knew that the Qatar show, the strongmen fighting as well.
Mm.
Do you remember about that? Finishers Fighting Championship.
No, fill me on that one.
I had they were doing a big show with with Eddie Hall, Thor Bjornsson, two strongmen fights and MMA fights, paying big money. They were paying them guys 20 million each, all four of them to fight. They had all the backing. I had a contract. I was fighting Fabio Maldonado. I asked for like 20 grand. I got offered 50 grand. As you do, offer up, you negotiate upwards.
Yeah,
Standard.
yeah,
No one really, and they were going to pay 50% the day you signed, and the rest on the fight. And blah. We all knew that this was looking really, really unlikely. But sometimes it's worth just seeing what happens, because what's the worst that can happen? And obviously it didn't happen. They kept on delaying the payments, and no one went. Martin Ford was going to fight. The actor Martin Ford as well was going to fight against
yeah.
Bjorn, I believe. Just a weird event that not many people would have watched, to be honest with you, because it was just always strange. It would never generate revenue of hundreds of millions. Of course, it's not going to. As much as I love watching Eddie fight, I love watching Thor fight. Still, I'm not going to lie. I'm still part of that crowd, but it doesn't generate them sort of numbers, and it didn't happen. So I'm just telling you a sob story about how I've been involved in the two different. I'm basically owed a lot of money by somebody. I don't know who yet.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because I did want to talk about Eddie. Obviously, I know you've done some work with Eddie in combat sports as well,
Yeah,
and the way he's gone about going into combat sports was very different to you. Obviously, he's kind of gone this freak show route, which maybe that route wasn't necessarily available when you came into it, so you kind of had to go down that legitimate route. Now
yeah.
we've kind of got misfits and places like that, which it gives people different options. But what are your thoughts on what he's been able to do in combat sports?
Well, obviously his main experience was the boxing with Thor the first time, and then the MMA fight with Pudgeon on KSW.
Yeah.
I was there for that. Eddie actually flew me out for that, which was really nice. I was in the crowd for that fight with
Mm.
Pudgeon.
Yeah.
Very exciting to watch. I enjoyed it. And obviously the Bjornsson. Boxing a guy like 7'4", sticking his jab out can't be easy for anyone, you know what I mean? But some people loved it, some people hated it. But I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the fact that he's willing to take himself out of his comfort zone. We did some rounds before the Pudzianowski fight, and that was the first time we met, and it was cool. Nothing but good vibes between us. A lot of similarities in terms of where he took strongman and where I was kind of like going in strongman. Do you know what I mean? But he took that mantle and went 10 times further with it. I kind of pulled out early. I would say, as you mentioned there about our different journeys, was part of it is a lot of it's timing. So, for example, if I'd been Britain's Strongest Man 10 years later, it was kind of the Instagram era. I'd probably have have a load of million followers now and be recognizable to get them sorts of money fights, if you like. Whilst I was kind of like before that time. But also the guys like Eddie, Pudzianowski, Bjornsson, they continued that strongman journey up to winning World's Strongest Man. That was my plan, but I stopped before that. Before I got to that point, I hadn't peaked out. I was just getting started in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And my journey, and this isn't a criticism for anybody. Like, if I could have done it their way and made big money straight away doing these fights, I would have. Believe me, I would have. Of course, so it's not a criticism. But I'm the only strong man whose combat sports journey has been organic and done like everybody does it. I didn't get any perks or favors, and for example, like Pudzianowski, and all credit to him still being around. He's been around a while now. He wouldn't have come up how I came up in the minor leagues coming up. He would have got found out a lot before that. So as much as I'd have much rather have made a million fight initially, I'm still quite proud of coming up the way I did, because I came up like everyone else did.
Of course. Obviously, yourself, Britain's Strongest Man, 2006. Where did your love of training and working out originally come from?
Well, I've been, again, I'll give you the short version. Is I've been at school when I find I was the biggest kid at school. I was like pretty much like one of the fastest runner. I could play tennis, I could play volleyball, I could play badminton. I just found I had quite a good ability to do most things in terms of physically, and that was kind of like my thing. But then I got to college and just messed around and acted stupid for a few years and didn't maximize myself, my abilities. Wasn't really doing much sports, and then you get to sort of like 20, 21, or maybe 21, not doing much with your life. And I started going to the gym and I realized, like, for the first time lifting weights, and I was strong. I was very strong. Like, I was probably lifting more weights than anyone in the gym. I just walked in the gym. And basically, you know, your self-esteem gets a much needed boost when you're a bit low from that. So you want to continue and push it. And it was a gym full of people that love strongman. I didn't even know about strongman. I didn't know what strongman was. I didn't even know what these things were at all. But they were doing it, so I just tried it, and I was good at it. So I thought, you know what, I'll call that my job. And then everyone sort of thinks I got a job, and I can't. They all wanted to do most of my stories. Most of my stories through strongman, through MMA, boxing, pro wrestling, are just a case of a kid, a man, whatever you want to call it, you know, the kid, the man, me being willing to do stuff and take myself to places that people around me want to go, but never were not willing to go. And that's really I think quite a big story. It can be quite important for people to sort of understand it because it gives them an idea of what they're capable of themselves. Now, I joined a gym that was basically a strongman gym without knowing what strongman was. All these guys want to do Britain's Strongest Man, but no, we can't do that. The next year, I went to Britain's Strongest Man. Next year, I went and did it. I was like, oh, I'm going to go and do it. What? They'll come and watch. And then after a while, people start thinking they can do it because, well, he did it, like locally. And then I finished doing the Strongman 2008 because I was just annoyed them because my arm was hurting me a little bit. And I literally decided straight away, I'm going to fight MMA. And people in my town loved MMA. They wanted to fight MMA for so long, but no one had. Well, one lad had, with respect to him, but no one really had. I was like, I'm going to fight MMA. And I fought MMA like a month later. And now around this area, there's loads of MMA fighters, some good ones as well. But it takes someone just to show that you can do it. Mm-hmm. And then I said from day one, and I'll probably fight in the UFC. I wasn't successful there, but I wasn't surprised, not because of arrogance, because I'll take my chances and get myself to a certain level. So I thought I'd go World Strongest Man. I did. I thought I'd go to UFC. I did. And then you know, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this professional wrestling, and now I'm on Josh Barnett Bloodsport, which is quite a good show. So who knows what the limit is? I'm not set any limits. Maybe I'll be in next year's Royal Rumble.
I mean, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
I dream big. I'm dreaming big, but I don't know. I'm quite old as well.
Obviously, making that transition from strongman to MMA, in terms of just the body, it's a big transition. Obviously, carrying that much muscle in MMA isn't necessarily practical when you got to be agile, you got to have cardio. So what was that process like for you making that transition?
It was gradual, just my body gradually getting smaller, a bit lighter, because like I said, a lot of unnecessary muscle. I was really trying to get fit, but my fitness was still quite a way off what it needed to be. And I was really desperate to get fit because being tired in a fight is probably the only thing that's scary. Being tired. If you're in a fight and you get beat up, you get beat up. But being tired, you feel I feel scared if I'm tired because you feel very vulnerable. I had my first 2 fights against the same guy. This guy called Ashley Pollard. He was like just a rough young kid. He still fights now, and he had like 5 or 6 fights at this point. My debut. I didn't do any amateur fights, and I beat him first fight. But I remember at the end of the first round, I'd mounted him, and the bell went, and it was like to get up. I couldn't even get up. he pushed me off of mount to get up himself and got up, and I was still trying to get up. And I was like, wow, I feel like, how can I win a fight? Like, I can't barely lift my hands up. So second round, I took him down, and I got him with. I only learned one choking. I'd only been grappling. I learned one choke, one submission. So I got him in mount and got him in arm triangle and choked him out with that. And then I was like, after that fight, I was like, I'm so tired. I need to get smaller. I didn't really lift weights. I stopped lifting weights for quite a few years. I lift weights again now because it's just healthy to do so. But I was bored of it. I was so sick of it that I didn't really lift weights too much. And my strength came down quite a lot. I'm not strong like I used to be now, obviously. And then I got more and more addicted to the fitness and the conditioning. And then maybe too much, where I lost a bit of my power. And now I'm kind of finding a bit of each, get a nice balance. But yeah, like it's just a gradual process, one thing at a time, and obviously education as well. There's a lot more information out there on how to get your body where you want it to be. Whilst when I was doing strongman, when I first started MMA, there wasn't quite as much. It wasn't so much science to it. We were just trial and error, figuring it out. And I know a lot about what I'm doing now. I train a lot of other people now as well, and coach a lot. And so I've made a lot of mistakes and errors that help me train other people the right way.
Of course. I got a few points in your career that I just want to touch on. Before going to the UFC, you fought for Ultimate Challenge, which I think is fascinating to look back on. Obviously, they had a big TV presence at the time as well. And looking back, it feels like something that was really ahead of its time. First question on that, was Dave O'Donnell as nuts as he seemed on TV?
Yeah, I don't think Dave put on ever acted out as a character. That was what he was. Very hyper, very amped, very abrupt, very blunt, very busy, a bit cheeky, sometimes a little bit like a bit sneaky, but I like him. I like Dave.
Yeah. What was that experience like, fighting for them? Because obviously you won the heavyweight championship there, and then that was your ticket to the UFC. But you talk about the presence they had. They had obviously the Cage Fighter TV show. They that was a big deal at the time. Obviously a successor from Cage Rage.
Yeah, when you first went to UCMMA, it was quite a big experience because it's quite a hostile environment when you get in that Troxy. You know, that area of London, you get a lot of different energies in the room, and you know, quite often I was against guys that sold hundreds of tickets, so it was quite hostile in the crowd as well. But it really prepares you for what you find in MMA, which is like these different situations and scenarios you end up in, and some of them can be quite mad, quite chaotic. And UCMMA was like the hotbed for every different thing: fights in the crowds, fights backstage. It was everything that probably Dave wanted it to be. But I also had some pretty cool fights there. Main one being the last one I had with Mark Potter. Rest in peace, Mark Potter, because he was such a talent, such a prospect. Everyone wanted to sign him. No one wanted to fight him. When I beat him, people wanted to fight him. But before I beat him, no one wanted to fight him. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story as well. Sorry, I'll tell you one is before my debut on UCMA, I was supposed to fight before that one time. And I was like, I don't even know if I started training yet, but I was just going to do it anyway. I wanted to fight. And through an intermediate person in the middle, Dave O'Donnell passed on a message that he'd like to have me fight on the show, and he offered me a fight, and it was all signed up. And it was against a guy who'd had a bit of kickboxing experience and no MMA experience. So it sounded like sort of reasonably fair. And he gave me the name of who I was fighting. I think they might have even made a poster. I think there was a poster at one point. And I went on YouTube and searched the guy I was fighting. Nothing, not a single thing. Google, nothing. I was like, wow, this guy's... But back then, it wasn't quite as much anyway. And it was all set. And about sort of a month before the fight, I just hurt my neck a little bit in training. I started training and I hurt my neck a little bit. Probably just wasn't used to the sort of wrestling on my neck. And I had to pull out. And they had to find someone else to fight. And basically, it turned out the person that I was going to fight did fight, fought some other older guy and knocked him out. And the name I was given wasn't the right name to who I would have been fighting. The guy I would have been fighting was Dillian White. And where I was at the time, I'm really glad I didn't, because he would have knocked the shit out of me. Because he was a good then, good now, good kickboxer, and I was just a big guy, just raw power. He would have probably that probably would have been my last fight, because he probably would have fucking smashed the crap out of me. But Dave didn't give me Dillion's name. He spelt the name all different and wrong and weird, and I didn't know it was Dillion. So my neck helped me out, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my next question was gonna be, is there any crazy stories from that time?
There is.
Given, yeah, you've got that one right there. I was gonna say, just obviously with Dave's personality, with the hostility, with so many characters, then there must be some moments you look on very fondly.
I mean, I look on that fondly because I didn't fight. Someone else got it. I mean, even now, if I fought Dylan now, I'd be scrambling for that takedown.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. Yeah, after that, then that's when the UFC came coming. You obviously had some bad luck to start that off. I remember there's some real hype about you debuting on that Birmingham show. Then you actually had to pull out, like you said. Um, the one thing I want to touch on UFC, obviously you mentioned earlier that you didn't have the success there that you would have liked. Do you feel maybe hard done by about how it went, given that I feel most fighters in that situation would have got another chance?
Uh, no, excuse me. 1 second, mate.
No, you're good.
Dog, dog. Your surname? Thompson. You take care. Little dog break, mate. I'm back for you now.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Delivery.
on the,
No, I had such dramas with my camp and preparation before the fight with DeFries
yeah.
that I was pissed off for a lot of reasons.
Is
And
that the original date with the freeze or which
no,
one?
that one was just an injury. I just got an injury. I couldn't. This just happened. But when I actually fought DeFries, that I don't want to like make it. I don't want to make any excuses now, because it was what it was. Feels legit in his own right,
Yeah.
as we know. But at the time, it was a fight for me that I can win. That I can win. And I was so unprepared for a fight due to a lot of circumstances that after that fight I was so depressed. Not depressed because of just losing, but just I didn't do anything. If you watch this fight, I had to be cut. I didn't do it. I didn't fight. I literally turned up to LA and didn't fight. I didn't do anything. I mean, Phil was a good grappler, very good grappler. He ended up busting my nose. I got broken nose, and then he went for a choke. He wasn't even under my neck, and I just tapped and went home. And I felt I was soul destroyed, because I've never give up anything in my life. But the circumstances, I'm not really going to go into them, because it's,
That's fine.
a lot of people, a lot of people, a lot of people let me down at that time. But we're good now. We've mended that, and I don't really want to rehash that. But I wasn't in. I walked to that cage. My brain was saying that I can't win a fight tonight.
Mm.
And so after the fight, I wanted to be released.
Yeah. Well, I guess the biggest fight from around that time after leaving the UFC was you got that fight with Pudzianowski over in Poland. We touched on him a little bit. He was the world's strongest man in 2008. He's had his own MMA career. He's still going these days. For it recently. Um, that must have been one, given both of your backgrounds, that really excited you at the time.
It did excite me because it's a big profile fight. He was much better than me in strongman. He's very good now, so good in strongman, and he's not so good at fighting. So it's quite a nice opportunity. It did come in a year of my career of a very flat, low. That year, I think 2014, 14 maybe 2014.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I wasn't passionate about being in the sport that much, but that was what it was. I still got responsibility to fight, and yeah, so fighting Pudzianowski was quite a cool experience. All the strongmen loved it, and obviously a 2-round fight, because that's what he was. Not, he wasn't. I was quite fit by this point. He didn't want to do 3 rounds, and there was a lot of, I've talked about it quite a few times, but Like at one point, he got. I didn't do any wrestling, so he didn't have any jiu-jitsu, so I didn't care if he went takedown. I was happy to play that. But he got a takedown in round 1, and he was sat in my guard with his head down. I was punching him most of the time from my guard, and the referee, who's kind of apologized to me since then, he left him set in my guard without any posture for 3.5 minutes of a 10-minute fight. And multiple cage holds, no punishment, no nothing. So a lot was done badly about it, but I shouldn't expect any more.
After that, the year after 2015, you said 2014 was a bit of a down year. 2015 definitely wasn't. You went over to Japan, IGF. Fascinating concept. Obviously, they did a bit of pro wrestling and MMA, which is kind of foreshadowing what you're doing now a little bit. Founded by the great Antonio Inoki after he split from New Japan. How did this opportunity come about for you?
So after I lost my second fight in Bama late in 2014, I wasn't really sure if I was going to continue. So I didn't really train. I was just I didn't do any training at all from like November, December that year through to I think it was like maybe February, March, whenever the first fight was in IGF. Hadn't trained. I was just none. I hadn't grappled. I hadn't hit a pad. Hadn't sparred. And then I got a message from my friend who connected to some people out in Japan. They want you to come and do this fight in Japan in a few weeks. And I was like, okay, what's the money? The money was small. But the money was small, but it was Tokyo. It was Tokyo, and I wanted to go to Tokyo. So I said, yeah. And I was against Minowa, man, the ankle lock guy. And these dogs are annoying. I might go and chuck them out in a minute as well. And we went out there, 2-round fight, and I managed to keep him off my legs, and we got a win. And then we were told, you're coming back. It's a tournament. I didn't know it was a tournament. And that's what set off the chain of events with like feeling good and cracking on with it. And positivity was back. And obviously we went 5-0 in the year and had an amazing year. And I felt good coming back.
Yeah. I mean, just firstly, obviously you ended up winning that tournament. But obviously, what were your memories being around Antonio?
That's what mad these dogs. It's not so easy. I can't wrestle German Shepherd very well, man.
What memories do you have being around Antonio Inoki at that time?
Yeah, so obviously Inoki was there. I wasn't too clued up on Antonio before I went out there. But I was dealing with Simon. Simon was like his son-in-law. Quite a well-known guy. So excuse me a minute. They were on their way out. So yeah, so it was cool. It was cool. I met Simon and I sort of figured out. I learned who he was while I was out there, and I realized I learned about the slap where he slaps the guys. You know, do you know what I mean? You go up and get slapped.
Yeah.
So I win. I was like, any chance I can get one of them slaps? But he turned it down. He said he doesn't do them anymore. He's retired. He retired from the slaps. So I couldn't get one, unfortunately. Real cool place to go. I love Tokyo.
Yeah, like I said, of course you won the tournament. It's insane looking at the lineage of Jerome Banner, Kazuki Fujita, Satoshi Ishii, Mirko Krokop, and yourself. We're 10 years on now. Yeah,
I'm still champion, right?
10 years on now. I mean, they haven't done anything since. That's what was going to be my next question. Do you still have the belt?
No, they didn't let me keep it.
It's a beautiful belt.
I had it on, and it was like diamond encrusted. It was a beautiful belt. And then when I got to the door of the building, they said, "Oh, we got to take that back off you." And they said, "Because you might not bring it back." I was like, "Oh, I probably wouldn't bring it back." But
I mean,
since then, I've tried to sort of get on Rising and things like that in Japan, because I love fighting Japan, but I haven't been successful doing that. They did talk to me about coming back and pro wrestling for IGF before IGF closed.
Yeah.
And we had a deal a few times. but they were struggling, and obviously that's where they are now. Is they've now obviously folded, or as far as I'm aware, they have. I've spoken to Simon Inoki a few times about pro wrestling over there. I'd love to go and do a little tour over there while I'm still in my prime. I don't know my prime. In a prime, one of my primes.
I mean, Josh has done some Bloodsport shows in Japan, so maybe that's an option.
Yeah, it's possible. Obviously, it's one of them ones. But I think for pro wrestling, you really want to get out for a few weeks and get quite a few shows in. It's not the same sort of business as MMA where you have one fight and go and rest.
Of course. I was hoping you would still have the belt and you could bring it out to Bloodsport, because it is an incredible belt.
Oh, I would love to. I've just acquired a new gym, my own gym for the first time over here, and I've got a few belts to go up. I would definitely want to have that one up. But like I say, it was beautiful belt, not one of these cheap like on UCMMA, everyone had a belt. UCMMA, like if you win a fight, even if you lose a fight, I think you get a belt. But that IGF belt was beautiful.
Yeah. From there, Bellator, I think Bellator 172 is the one to talk about. Fedor and Matt Mitrione were supposed to fight. Obviously, they eventually did, but this time Matt pulled out hours before. Um, there was a bit of talk. How close were you to stepping in and fighting Fedor that night?
No, I did step in. It was in my contract to be the person that steps in if it goes wrong. And the morning of the fight, I was told that I was fighting. I was fighting Fedor main event because Matt's had the kidney stones or something like this.
Yeah.
And we already had the financials in the contract of what would happen if that happens. And the financials, my money was ×5 to fight Fedor main event. So obviously, I was like a life changer for me. And then just before I went to the venue, they said, "Oh, Fedor refused it now. He won't do it now. And you'll fight in Congo again." And I was just like, it destroyed me really. I wanted to go home. I should, if I could go back, I'd have just flown home.
Yeah.
But because of the way they treated me, but they'd had me on the shelf for 8 months, so financially I was in a real hole with it, and I really needed to fight. So they're quite clever. They're quite clever what they do. And the Bellator guys was Bellator was like the international Bama of sneakiness.
I mean, one thing you could say now is that Fedor Emelianenko is scared of you. Is that what we're running with?
Yeah, we can if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Fedor. But it would have been a cool fight because he wasn't prime Fedor. We would have probably just bashed each other up for a bit. It would have been fun.
I mean, that era of Fedor is very fun. I mean, if you remember when he fought Matt, they had the double knockdown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, my Bellator run it's actually, it's not a run. It was 2 fights, but it's actually a little bit underrated. People don't. I'll tell you why, because people don't realize that I fought like Matt in his prime. I had 3 weeks preparation from just not training much, doing my business, and he just come out of camp, so he was fresh, and I gave him a lot of troubles. And I'm not saying that to negative Matt. Me and Matt are friends. I like Matt, I gave him a lot of bother, but I just got tired and ended up just like falling over tired, I think, pretty much. And then obviously the Congo situation, like they should have given me another fight. They should have given me another fight.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you like you say, your head wasn't in it for Congo at that point.
No. And me and Congo, and also me and Congo have been friends and training partners before that. But after we met in San Jose at that time, we've never been friends again since then.
Yeah, like you say, yeah, it feels a bit strange again that you weren't given another shot there.
But they were quite clever. Without again, I don't know, I don't like to sort of go over negativity too much, but what they did is they didn't release me after the fight. They kept me on contract, saying I'm going to fight again soon, until Matt and Fedor did fight. And I hadn't really realized until that point there then they released me, and then I realized what they were doing. It's very clever because while I'm still with them waiting for another fight, I'm not really going to expose what's gone on here.
Mm-hmm.
And once they've released me, I can release. Once they've released me, I can sort of expose it. but no one really cares later on. No one really cares. Now Matt and Fedor are fighting. It's like I'm moaning about it because I've been released. But in actual fact, it was just they were just buying themselves time to keep me controlled, if you like. And it did, because I'm a regular guy. I have to pay my bills like everyone else.
Yeah. Obviously, you've kept super active in the last few years still. Fighting a who's who, Ante Delia, Sergey Karatanov, big knockout of Alexei Olenek, and you're still doing the thing, like we said, you're going to come back soon. But as someone that has spanned so many eras of the sport, especially here in the UK, where do you see the sport in 2025, both in the UK and worldwide? And is the position the sport is in now something you could have imagined when you started back in 2009?
No, I didn't imagine this amount of popularity we've got now, for sure. It's crazy. Exciting for the next generation of people coming through. The opportunities, the places to train. Now, when my training was like, I have a great friend who was doing jiu-jitsu quite early, so I had access to him. But in general, a lot of my training as far as for MMA was we just made it up. We just made it up.
Mhm.
And later on now, I've got better training now, but I've also got a more battered body now.
Yeah.
I didn't start hitting pads and learning to strike until I signed a deal with the UFC. I hadn't started doing any. I just made it up. I just sparred, and I thought, you know what, I better start learning some boxing or some kickboxing. So it's definitely gone to a crazy level, and obviously you can make money now. You can get paid well in and out of the UFC. I haven't really got anything negative about the UFC to say, but they need to definitely loosen up them purse strings a little bit and start making sure everyone's seeing the benefit, not just a few guys at the top and themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned that obviously there has been the lawsuit recently against the
Yeah,
UFC. Were you a part of that class?
I am. I'm waiting for my money, and a big shout out to all the dudes and them OGs that have been pushing for that for a long time, raising up a lot of issues that I wouldn't even know existed unless they highlighted it. It's still being brushed under the carpet a little bit, but them guys have done a massive job for a lot of fighters. I'm only getting a very small, relatively small payout, 2 fights, and I got one bonus as well to sort of come out of it. But I'm grateful for people making efforts in fields that I'm not capable of doing myself, and they deserve all the credit for that. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a bit of cash.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, you can totally say no. How much are we looking at?
Well, Anderson's getting 10 mil, I believe.
That's what they say. That's what they
And,
say.
and I can believe that because a lot of bonuses, a lot of money. I'm probably looking at like, I don't know, 30, 40 grand.
Mm.
And
It's helpful. It's helpful.
man, it's all helpful. Minus some tax. Minus some tax.
Of course.
I can't moan. The best money is the money you didn't know you were getting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
when you find £10, it's worth so much more than £10.
Mm. I do just need to finish off with something totally random that was brought to my attention yesterday when I told a couple of people I was going to be speaking to you. You're related to Rob Beckett.
I didn't expect that one. Yeah, can you not see the resemblance?
Yeah, you look just like him.
I mean, I could be a comedian easily. He could be a fighter easily. You wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, I assume this is something that came to your attention around the same time he found out about it on that show.
Yeah, I think the investigators were looking for ties to some celebrities. He was one of them, and I think they got in touch with through some sort of DNA ancestry. Got in touch with I think my mum and spoke to her. She said it was all right to speak to her. I spoke to her, and they asked for permission to speak to other people. And I think what they're doing is not. I mean, everyone's got their own great story, just not just mine. But obviously, they're looking for stories that stand out. And obviously, I think they went through my mum, my brothers and sisters, or whatever. And my story was a bit more. It's going to be a bit more like, oh wow, So you get a bit more of a reaction. So that's the one they highlighted. And I went along and found out I was a cousin of Rob's. It was there was a few. I didn't really know who it was going to be. I didn't know who until I got there. I didn't know who it was going to be until I walked into that room where it was filmed. So do you know who I saw first? I saw Romesh first, and I saw Romesh by accident earlier in the day, and I was thinking that's definitely like that's a bit out there. Me and Romesh are related. There's a lot of reasons why I'm
That
not sure about.
that it does seem less likely.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like, I'm quite sort of dark hair, and it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible, right? But it made more sense with Rob than Romesh.
Yes, it does. Have you kept in touch with him much? I know he's a big UFC fan as well.
Yeah, well, no, I haven't really. I haven't. We did for a little while, but I haven't for a little while. We talked a little bit here and there. Um, I sent him an idea about doing a show with him and Romesh, where him and Romesh do MMA and do strongman. And turns out that idea must have been quite good, right?
I guess so.
Because he's done it.
I saw them with it was like a few months ago, a year ago now, with Leon.
Yeah. Well, where's my credits?
No royalties.
Nah, but it's cool.
No,
It's cool.
it's cool. Obviously, back to the present day, the matter at hand, Bloodsport, September 28th, Electric Ballroom in London. Some great names on the card. We touched on some earlier. Obviously, Josh Barnett's on there. Chris Bungard is on there as well. Anthony Ogogo, obviously, you mentioned him earlier, Olympic bronze medalist, AEW. Chris Ridgway, who's a great technical pro wrestler. Kevin Lloyd, who trained under Billy Robinson at the Snake Pit. Lou Nixon, who's a great deathmatch wrestler, but he also has sort of experience in as many disciplines as you can imagine. Brett Semtex has K1 experience, boxing experience, MMA experience. All these guys, RP Davis was a 12-1 boxer who's on the show. All these guys with all different experiences they're bringing to the table. And more to be announced. It's set to be a very exciting night. Ollie, we'll finish up here, but I'll give you the last word, obviously. We don't know your opponent yet. You know your opponent yet. Give us the hard sell. What can the people expect from Oli Thompson at Bloodsport?
Well, you've seen me in lots of different forms, whether it's like the strength in World's Strongest Man. You've seen me knocking people out in Russia, fighting in the UFC. So all the things you liked about me, the gritty character, never give up, tough, powerful, you know, I really think that in a Bloodsport environment, it's going to deliver something spectacular. And I really like people to tune in and just check it out and see what I'm doing, because I like to make a point of doing things well.
Of course, I'm going to be at the show. I'm very excited
So,
to see what goes down. You mentioned that you've just opened a gym as well, so I'll give you a chance to kind of plug that too.
well, I haven't got a new name for it yet, but the next generation boxing and fitness gym in Eastbourne is moved over to my hands next week. I'm going to be pushing that along with a lot of new additions to it in terms of that, and I'm also managing the Fit Lab Worthing gym an hour away alongside it. So a lot of cool things happening. Follow my social media, Oli Thompson _fit on Instagram to keep up with what I'm doing. If you want to get involved or come and get coached, let me know.
Perfect. I want to thank you. You've been very generous with your time today, Ollie. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. It's been a pleasure to chat. And yeah, I can't wait to be down in London next weekend for Bloodsport.
Thanks, mate. Come give me a shout.
Yeah, I mean, if I see you down at the merch table, I'll definitely come over and say hi.
Thanks, mate. See you soon.
Cool. Thanks. See ya. Bye.